Tonight I want to take you through some information on NECAP. It'll be in two parts. First, I'll give you what you traditionally see with NECAP, and then I want to give you something you normally don't see with NECAP, what's behind the scenes with NECAP, and how we really try to get better. First, as you know, full day K is something we keep talking about and hearing about. So in that context, I wanted to show you the 5 elementary schools, and we have a chart you may have seen from me last week in an email showing a 5-year growth, 06, 07 to 11, 12. First, let's talk about reading. You can see over the several years, the schools are really moving well in reading. We've had a lot of money invested in Reading Street and in other programming. You can see Ashton is up 12 points, grade 3, 16, 18, even year over year. You can see here in grade 4, 62, 76. BF Norton, as you know, had further to come. You can see over the same time a 38-point gain, 32-point gain, 26-point gain. Overall, I would say I'm very happy with the reading. It's really coming along. We can still get better, but it really is moving as a whole. Math, on the other hand, we have work to do. While I do see some bright spots in math, I mean, you can see here in math, in some areas, we're making some nice gains, 7-point gain here, 15-point gain here. Taken as a whole, I think the same systemic approach we have taken with reading has to now happen with math. And we're starting that right now at the high school and also at the L's. Can you go to the other slide? Actually, before you go, I know in talking about full day K, folks are looking a lot about this school versus that school and who ranks above the other one. I just want to give you a couple of quick factoids for this year's scores. In case you didn't notice, in 2 instances, Garvin was ahead of Cumberland Hill. In 1 instance, BF Norton was ahead of Garvin. So I think in reading, I think it matters less and less in terms of once programming is going well, a lot of the schools really start to kind of get settled out. That same thing has to happen in math. So thank you, Dr. The other chart shows you more of a visual. You can scroll to the right. Kind of a bar graph. Put a grade 6, please. You can see just the colors representing the schools, and drag it over. So you can see grade 6, the 2 middle schools. Here we are in the 70s and 80s. Over here on the math spectrum. Math historically has been lower than ELA across Rhode Island. It's no different here. We're at grade 7. You can see same trend line. Actually, there, if you look at that one, McCourt is actually making a nice gain here. Oh, here, moving up. Grade 8, going up. See, same trend. So we are in an upward trend. Grade 11, the reading really in the 80s is in a decent place. We can still get better. The math is the cause for concern. Math across Rhode Island, grade 11, is not there yet. The gold standard in Rhode Island is Barrington at 69% proficient. It's still not where you want it, but we're in the 30% range. As you may have heard, in 2014, the federal law talks about students must be proficient in ELA and math to graduate. You might have heard last week in the paper, some states are leaving No Child Left Behind. You hear that last week? The reason they're doing it is because the federal law is now coming up against reality. If states do not abandon this regulatory procedure, many kids will not graduate in 2014. If this took place right now in Cumberland, in terms of math, we would have many students not graduating. And that's not unusual for most high schools in Rhode Island. That's why you're seeing a kind of a recalibration of No Child Left Behind. So, having said that, I want to spend most of my time showing you what you never see with NECAP. You've seen this ad nauseum every year. Everyone's seen charts every year, the state average, our scores, right? You've seen this? I want to show you what really matters in NECAP. On the website, there's a private side and a public side. I'm going to show you the private side. One thing I have to do, I'd like Mike to help me. On the private side, we have student names. I'm going to block those, so we can't have you seeing student names. But this private side shows you the real powerful way we use NECAP to get better. So, for example, here we have Cumberland. Mike, let's go to, well, please pick a school, John. Where do you want to go?
Cumberland? For elementary?
Wherever you want.
Ashton.
Ashton School? Okay. Ms. Bully, what grade do you want? 5th grade. Reading or, Ms. Teal, reading or math? Math, 5th grade, Ashton. Okay. Up here, basically, certain items are released to the public, into the schools. They're called released items. That tells us what kinds of problems kids get right and get wrong. Over here we know what kind of problem it is. It's a numbers and operations, geometry and measurement, functions and algebra. What kind of math problem are we doing well in? What kinds are we not doing well in? Over here we can find out how hard is it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's called DOK, depth of knowledge. A 1 is easy, a 4 is hard. Okay? Over here, what is it? MC's multiple choice. Okay? That's the kind of question it was. The right answer was C. Now here we have students, okay? A plus sign means they got it right. A letter means that was their response, but it was wrong. So we look for trends out of the gate. We look for, like, in a column here, which column do you see a lot of letters? Look at this one. Number 7, a lot of wrong answers. It's a geometry and measurement question. You might click on the magnifying glass for number 7. So G&M is a problem in grade 5, Ashton. We click on it, oh wait, that's the problem they had to struggle with. And we can try that now if you wanted to replace it, but this is the challenge we had. So now, the crux of getting better at NECAP is turn the autopsy into a physical. And by that I mean, remember, this is a test kids took in October on last year's knowledge. Now we're in the winter of the following year. So what can we do about it right now to make this really meaningful? Here's what I recommend. We have a curriculum that has a scope and sequence that tells you what to teach, when to teach it. I think sometimes that's not enough. We have to really be deliberate and say, okay, if we know Ashton School, this was grade 5 testing year, that means what? Where are those kids right now? What seat are they in? Are they still in Ashton? 6th grade, so they're probably at McCourt. Mr. Anderson's here. Mr. Anderson. There it is. Yeah. So I would think that, okay, let's look at this. These kids probably are still struggling with G&M. Let's do a quick pulse check, a formative assessment. You can do something as simple as changing the numbers for a couple of these problems. Make 2 or 3 problems like this. Give every 6th grader that problem on a Friday. Score them. Have a teacher team meeting grade 6 and see how many kids are still struggling with G&M. If they're struggling with G&M, we have to give them more targeted instruction. You know, in reading, we have green, yellow, and red kids. And the red kids get a reading teacher and we help them. Next year in our budget, we're looking at adding math support for the kids who struggle. Math interventionists right now. We're doing that with Title I dollars for Ashton and BF and using hopefully other funds for the other schools. So that's kind of some of the power of this. Can you go back again to the, cover it up again? And go back. Also in this program, you can see on the far side here, it gives you, I call it like the box score. It gives you over here, was the student a 4, 3, 2, or a 1? What's their scaled score? They have a raw score of like 5, like an SAT at 5 something or 4 something. It tells you kind of where we are. And if you scroll down like to the bottom, he's helped me a lot doing these pages for me. Go to page 6, I think it is. At the bottom, it gives you a final box score. If you can pull it a little bit, Mike, somehow. Right there, okay. So here we have the group score, the school, district, and state. So once again, we knew question 7 was a problem. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So look at question 7. Once again, the state average, which is nothing to really be I think, gloating about, was a 23. We were a 16 on that in Ashton, that testing year. G&M is a problem. That's only one sample, one question. We would then, as an exercise, next Tuesday, we're doing this with principals, I think. We're going to meet upstairs. We're going to have an exercise where every school goes through every released item, every principal looks at them and finds the trends. We'll know, grade 3, here's the trend at this school, grade 4, trend over here. We chart it, and we basically will see a trend of what strand it may be in math. And typically, I'll tell you, it's G&M and F and A. Functions and algebra and geometry and measurement, the 2 strands that usually we fall down in. Once we know that, the question I'll ask them is, what are you going to do about it? And we're going to meet a lot and try to make sure we're moving this. At the high school, the question is, we have sophomores right now taking the state test next October. What are we going to do about the sophomores right now? You know, Chris Scott started the program a while ago. He's going to come back to you to show you what's happening so far. If you recall, the program says students who are not proficient yet are mandated after school time to get support in geometry. So we're going to see if that's made a difference. In the budget next year, we're adding monies in, small money, to have a bigger scale program, middle school and high school, Tuesday, Thursday, mandated time to be focused on math. Also at the high school, we're looking at different schedule options to maximize our day, and there also may be time in the day to do that too. So in essence, if we don't do something different, we'll get the same results again next year and the year after with the math program. You have to really be aggressive and look at this differently. That's what we're going to do. Let's go back and look at one more school, one more time. Pick a school, Mr. Garvin School. What grade?
2.
Grade 2, Garvin, and ELA or math? Grade 3. Let's go math again. Go math. Because reading scores are pretty good. Let's go to math. Once again, we'll look for just some trends here. I wonder what it'll be. So we'll look at this one. What number is this? This is jumping out at me. Scroll down. That's a functions in algebra, F and A. Please go to the item. And this was the one they struggled with. Look at the number sentence, box, look familiar? Minus 10 equals, remember that? So we're struggling here. Once again, why couldn't we make 2 or 3 of these, right? Do that protocol. Also, coming soon, I would tell you, we released our curriculum on the website last Halloween, right? We have that now. Next step is to make benchmark assessments. So in essence, we have a report card now coming out to standards-based next year. We should know 4 times a year what the benchmark is for kids in math. So in October, we need a benchmark test everyone takes. Could be 4 items per strand, minimum. They take this, we then know 4 times a year, and parents know, parents always ask, is my child at level? How's he doing? We should have a system in math 4 times a year as a benchmark, whether you're a Garvin, BF, or community, that's the benchmark first quarter of the year for F and A. Same thing for writing. Proficient writing in the first quarter should be explicit. We should have a sample of student work on the website, no name, take name off. This is the work for the student, that's proficient. That's where we're going. That's what's happening now. So that's kind of insight. Next Tuesday, the principals are doing this with me. We're going to look at the schools and look at the released items. Also, I'll tell you this, I can't show you this part, but we do something else where we drill down by subgroup. You know how in a couple of months we get the AYP, annual yearly progress? Right now the test scores are the whole school together, right? 2 months from now, it's subgroups. If you have 45 students in a subgroup, it counts. It's like a hurdle race. You must clear all the hurdles, right? And as you know, sometimes it's very interesting how these break out demographically. In some big urban schools, for example, I know I was talking to one person once in a big urban district. He told me he had a couple students that were ELL, African American, and low SES. So those scores would count multiple times on their scores. So really interesting how it plays out. So I know sometimes people like to compare schools. NECAP really isn't made to compare. It's not a contest. But if you want to look at apples and oranges, apples and apples, really look at the subgroups you have in a school. Make sure you're a discerning reader. Do the schools you're comparing have all the same subgroups? Because that really is the bugaboo. The biggest challenge I've found in my experience with Rhode Island is special education math is the one that usually trips up schools. So when you look at schools that don't make AYP this spring, find out how many failed special education math. That's the biggest challenge we have right now. So questions from the committee?